Good afternoon. A group of historians and I are going to inform you about the Bay of Pigs. The scene you're about to see is J. Edgar Hoover informing John F. Kennedy about the Bay of Pigs.
Mr. President, we need to talk.
Mr. Hoover, what is it?
Mr. President, before you, Dwight D. Eisenhower in his presidency organized a group of Cubans to go into Cuba and overthrow Fidel Castro. Now we have trained these Cubans, Mr. President, but we need your permission to send them in.
Okay.
Good afternoon! My name is Eric Burroughs.
And today, I'm going to tell you about the Bay of Pigs invasion. Now, under Dwight D. Eisenhower, the U.S. government was worried about Fidel Castro's position in Cuba. Now, we could not directly attack Cuba, so we trained a military force to invade Cuba. A bunch of Cuban citizens. We trained them and gave them weapons. Now this, and because our government was about as ignorant as my right toenail, we failed. Fidel Castro took our troops and he captured them, and our invasion failed. Mr. President, we need to talk.
What is it, Mr. Hoover?
Sir, the Bay of Pigs, it failed.
No.
The failed invasion of the Bay of Pigs strengthened Castro's administration and led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. It also embarrassed U.S. foreign policy.
Now, after the Bay of Pigs, the Soviet Premier, Mr. Khrushchev, developed and distributed missiles all across Cuba.
Oh God, get him some water. Oh God, cut. Alright, okay, is he good? Okay, can we continue? Alright, let's do this.
Now, as I was saying, Mr. Khrushchev developed and distributed missiles all across Cuba. Now, this posed as a real threat to all Americans, including Mr. President himself.
Mr. President, we need to talk.
What is it this time, Mr. Hoover?
Sir, the Soviets have stashed nuclear missiles in Cuba. They are within striking distance.
No.
Mr. President, have you thought of any solutions to the missiles?
I've thought long and hard about this, and I've decided that we're going to issue a blockade around Cuba, and we're also going to request that the USSR take back their nuclear weapons all the way back to its homeland. We might be in for a war.
However, the president wasn't the only one afraid of the Cuban Missile Crisis. The civilians were also very threatened by it.
So, in summation, hold on.
First, have you seen my son's ties? This was made by my son. He has a book out called F Yeah Menswear.
Anyway, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Whose fault was it? It was the Russians' fault. They put their missiles in Cuba. It was completely their fault, and the U.S. had no blame. Right? Wrong! The U.S. did have blame. They put the blockade on the Russia. It was their fault that it started in the first place, and that Kennedy wanted to take over the world with democracy. So in the end, it's your choice, San Marcos' class. It's your choice to decide whose fault the Cuban Missile Crisis was. Also, Stanford won their bowl game against Wisconsin a couple days ago. So I'm pretty happy right now. Now I'm gonna go out and work on my abs. Goodbye, San Marco.